I love it when someone can throw in a little comic relief. Chicago Jason on YouTube. Hey, Mark, is Buster now a monster like the people that hand out almond joy on Halloween?
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, actually it is. It's that kind of monster. Like, in other words, I'm not going to egg your house. I don't hate you. And you're allowed to feel the way you do and hand out whatever you want to hand out. I don't have to like it. But
this is way worse than handing out almond joy.
Well,
this is akin to handing out a toothbrush
here's the
at
thing,
Halloween,
though.
and those people did get egged.
Yeah, well, that's different. I agree. Those people are monsters.
Raisins.
I still feel like we've got this little fine line that we're having a hard time not crossing. So, in other words, like even when you said a few minutes ago for Buster to say what he said, like, I think it's important for people to... Buster did not share an opinion. It feels to me like there's a lot of you, and it is also being pinned on us, that we think that Buster trashed the city. Buster didn't share an opinion about anything. He shared his experience in talking to free agents. My issue with that is not what he said. How could I have an issue with someone sharing a fact, their experience?
Right.
My issue is that he said it publicly and made it a national debate so that now even the people that wouldn't have thought that that was an issue now think that it's an issue. That's my problem. So what Buster feels, got no issue with it. What Buster's experience was, got no issue with it. What Buster's perspective on this is, got no issue with it. My issue is that he said it to Andy Baggerly on the record for him to write and turn into a national conversation in the middle of free agency.
Right.
I find that to be a mistake.
It's a huge mistake. And now we're in day 2 talking about it, and it's a comment that, he shared what he's hearing about players. And honestly, when you talk about players and then you add in and their wives, that puts a certain amount of emotional baggage onto it that makes it even more powerful than just players. So now it's players and it's their wives. So player X is like, you know what? I like San Francisco. I like what they're doing. I've always admired Bob Melvin. I think the ballpark fits my skill set. Honey, I don't want to go there because drugs and crime. And then it's like, man, you know what, honey? You're right. I don't want to take you and the kids there, even though we'll live 22 miles away in a very safe area with schools that get a 10 out of 10, and you'll never have to go there. You're right. I'm scared of the boogeyman in San Francisco, so we won't go there. And that whole notion and the fact that Buster Posey put his potentially Hall of Fame name to that makes it so much more damaging than if it was just like an unnamed player said that he chose the Milwaukee Brewers because, he was afraid of drugs and crime in San Francisco. This is Buster Posey who is saying that he's hearing this.
Yeah, in the middle of free agency.
In the beginning of free agency right?
Yeah, so that's all I think. And now the issue as a whole I get very emotional about. And again, that's the second misconception that took over yesterday. Who on earth thinks that everything is hunky-dory around here? Nobody said that. Nobody said that. There are obvious problems. Is it what it once was? I think you could easily argue no. But that would kind of be my argument is, in this particular case, stop comparing San Francisco to itself. So many people I hear, it's not what it once was. Neither are the other cities. I don't know if you've all noticed we live in a super divisive world now. That was not the case 20 or 30 years ago. And it affects things because people become disenfranchised and not listened to and desperate, and it leads to all of these things. And we can have a very much larger conversation that, quite frankly, nobody wants to have on sports radio about why that is and how we got here. But it's not relevant right now in Giants free agency to compare San Francisco to what it once was. What's relevant is to compare it to what other cities currently are. Also dealing with crap. Also dealing with all of these things. So that's my only issue. Nobody's here to give a pass to San Francisco's leadership or say that everything is sunshine and rainbows out there. My issue is San Francisco has now become a national talking point as if it's the only city dealing with this stuff.
Yeah.
That's what's so hard for me.
Well, what's hard for me is the very idea of relevance in this topic anyway, because you've got a Giants player who plays at Oracle Park 81 times down there on 3rd and King, and that area is not rife with homeless, nor is it rife with drugs. So you're a Giants player who is going to that workplace, and you don't really have to deal with it. We're down here on Kearney in our new building, Kearney and Market, basically, and we don't really have a homeless and a drug problem at this location. Now, if Oracle Park were at, say, Pine and Jones in the heart of the Tenderloin, or in whatever other area you want to pick, or, and I lived in Oakland for 20-something years, and where I lived out in the east off of Edwards, it was Upper East Oakland. I didn't have the same problems in my neighborhood as people did about a mile and a half away, down off MacArthur or International or East 14th. So when we use these umbrella terms like Oakland and San Francisco and Hayward and Richmond and whatever city, Vallejo, whatever city you want to pick, it doesn't mean that the whole city is good, bad, ugly, indifferent, or whatever. So we talk about Oracle Park and San Francisco as being a detractor to free agents. No free agent is ever going to have to go into the areas where San Francisco is in need of some upkeep.
Well, and that's the other thing that I've heard so many say, and Bonte and Guru and many have been saying this for a while, and I understand why this is a struggle, which is it's going to come off. There's no way to avoid that this is going to sound from an organization worth billions that prints money. It's going to sound like an excuse. It's like, we missed out on a free agent again, but what are we supposed to do? Your city sucks. There's no way around it feeling like that to the people who grew up here and live here. There's no way around it. And that may, like Buster even said in his quote, look, it may not be fair. Well, I'd say it right back to Buster and the Giants. May not be fair because you might actually be hearing that in your free agent meetings. Guess what? You don't get to use that. You don't. You've got to win battles. And if that means that the players you want, you've got to pay them $7 million more per year than the market is offering, do it. Do it. Because it doesn't really matter. It's all funny money. If you want the guy you want, get the guy you want. At a certain point, you're out here giving $700 million out. What's a few more?
Right.
And by the way, the guy didn't take it. Do you know how much money the Giants have offered in the last 5 years that has not been accepted?
Billions, yeah.
Over $1 billion.
Right.
Well over $1 billion. We're on our way to $2 billion. From 360 to 360 to 313 to 700. I don't know. That's pretty
That's
damn.
$1.7 billion.
That's pretty
Mark.
close to $2 billion that was not accepted.
And is that because of crime and drugs? Or is it because your team is not attractive enough to free agents?
I would argue it's much more the second.
Exactly.
Much more the second. Although I could also argue it's because one of the four did say yes, then you turned them away, and the other ones either had better offers or you didn't offer as much as the other teams offered. Bryce Harper would have been a Giant, and he's booed here every time he comes. I firmly believe they could have had him for $340. They stopped at $310. What's the difference?
Think about that now in terms of this year's dollars. $340.
What's the difference?
Dude, $340.
Exactly.
That's a bargain now.
They always are if they produce.
Right.
And if you
and he's produced.
Of course. Why? Because he was rare. He was a free agent in his mid-20s. Just like the guy they just got. Just like Yamamoto.
Just like Juan Soto, who got traded.
Right.
But, they didn't offer a package that was going to be good enough to get him.
You can't put a number on those guys.
Right.
I would much rather overpay for Yamamoto than have a bunch of Listellas and DeSclafani contracts sitting around. If you add up three of those, you know what you get? Yamamoto.
Yeah.
So I don't, nobody wants to hear it. It's like Draymond. Well, here's what happened on that play. Nobody wants to hear it. So you might be right. I'm sure you do hear that in free agent meetings, but it's not going to work as far as telling people why you don't have players.
Right, and it makes it worse when one of the faces of your franchise goes out and all but confirms that notion. So if you're a free agent now and you don't know anything about San Francisco and you hear Buster Posey saying, yeah, I've heard this from people before, people and their wives about the crime and the drugs, well, then it becomes reality. Perception is reality. And you can like that expression or you can not like that expression.
Yeah.
I do think it's true, especially when it comes from a guy like Buster Posey. So when he says he's hearing this from people, you take him at at face value.
For sure.
You don't think he's lying about it. So
Definitely not. And that's what the reporters have all stepped in and said. No, this is a thing. The other Buster said the same thing. Buster Olney's like, yes, free agents have an issue with San Francisco, some of them. Yeah. Like, you know what this also does? Like, go back to what Farhan said a year and a half ago. And Farhan has done a lot of work since then to be like, that's not really what I was saying. And I hear this now and I'm like,
it's what you were saying.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. But you didn't have the cachet to withstand it. Buster does. So Buster's not going to get canceled. No one's going to be mad at Buster.
Right. Well, people are mad at Buster, but he's not getting canceled.
But they can be, like, again, I don't even consider myself mad at Buster. I'm frustrated with one thing that he did. I thought it was a bad choice. It's a bad choice. Doesn't make him a bad guy. Doesn't make him a bad choice to be in the room for the meetings. I think it was a bad choice to give the quote to Andy Baggerly. And Andy wrote around it as he should. He's a very good writer, and out he put some good stuff, and off we go. And now I don't know any free agent who won't ask. Thank you, by the way, Jung Hoo Lee, for starting in your opening statement. I love the Bay Area. Thank you, Jung Hoo Lee. I wonder if he would have said that in his opening statement, though, if this wasn't a national conversation.
And I wonder if he's actually been to the, quote, Bay Area, or, if he's been to
he's here right
SFO.
Now.
He's been to SFO and he's been to Oracle Park. Oh, I love the Bay Area. This place is great. But I'm not trying to put bullet holes into his opening comments, but you love the Bay Area. You've been here for an hour and a half.
Well, no, who knows what I have no idea what his travel has been through. He
did say he and his parents, by the way, have come to San Francisco before when they were kids.
There you go.
There you go.
I'm sure he's been to Fremont. Spent time in Pittsburgh.
No, that's Rowdy Tellez who's going to be spending time in Pittsburgh.
That's right.
Here, Jung Hoo Lee, opening statement.
Hello, Giants. My name is Jung Hoo Lee, grandson of the wind, from Korea. First, I would like to thank the Johnson family, Larry, Farhan, and Pete. Also, special thank you my lawyer, Scott Boras, and Boras Corporation. I'm honored to share this day with my mother and father, and thank you for helping to achieve my dream to play in MLB. I always have loved the Bay Area from coming here as a young ball player. I am here to win and will always give my best for teammates and fans. Let's go, Giants! Thank you.
He's officially my favorite.
He's forever Giant.
He's incredible.
I'm in.
He thanked Larry and Farhan and Pete.
And his lawyer.
Scott Boras. Scott Boras got a shout out.
The Boras Corporation.
But he thanked the Johnson family and Larry, Pete Patilla. Farhan got a shout out.
That's right.
And I thought it was great.
Great.
Yeah.
Great.
Wonderful.
Dude, I'm excited about the guy. I have no idea if the game's going to translate or not, but how can you...
You missed the second part of it, which was I'm very concerned about the drugs and the crime in the Bay Area.
We cut it off before he asked, can anyone tell me where to live?
Right.
That's engaging. I love that.
For sure.
That's fantastic. I do wonder if the Giants stuck the line in the middle. I've always loved the Bay Area. I wonder, because It's just not a good thing. It's not a good thing that this has been given credibility. And again, I don't say that to say that San Francisco is not struggling. I say that to say that all of the other major cities are too. So what do we got? The other Foster City Willard? Is that what we have, Lucas? Another Willard in Foster City? Hey, the other Willard.
The real Willard.
Oh.
In Foster City.
Who? State your name and address, please, and phone number.
Real Willard. I've been listening to Mark Talk Sports for 40 years now.
Wow, have I been doing it for that long?
Well, you did it in middle school.
I was going to say, that would make me 8 years old. And yeah, I was a talkative youngster.
So I just want to say, I work in finance. I see this all the time. Oh, not all the time, but a few times a year. You get two companies that are very similar in what they do and how they run their business. And when they release the quarterly reports, one of them will just bomb. And then they'll release a statement that it's because of bottlenecks in the supply chain or because the weather was bad or something like that. And then the very next day, their closest competitor will release their quarterly statement, and they'll just crush the numbers. They'll have a great quarter. And so it's like it was raining on one company's stores, but it wasn't raining on the other company's stores that are around the corner in the same city. It just doesn't make sense, right? So you got this team in San Francisco called the Warriors that's right across the street from where the Giants play. Mm-hmm. And they have no problem signing free agent first ballot Hall of Famers. And yet the Giants can't do it because of the city of San Francisco or because of Gabe Kapler. But I got to tell you, it was neither one of those things. It wasn't Kapler. It's not the city of San Francisco. There is a problem, but that's not the problem.
What's the problem?
Well, the problem is I work in finance. Generally, when a company is blaming the weather or something like that, the problem's at the corporate level.
Yeah.
The problem has something to do with their business practices. There's something that their competitor is doing to be efficient and to generate sales that they are not doing.
I'll say this, and thank you. And is this Bill? Bill, is this you?
It is.
Yeah, I thought so. I recognize your voice. It's good seeing you a few weeks ago, my friend. Thank you for calling.
Is he family?
I've known Bill for a long time.
So he's not quite family, but he's...
No, we're not related. No, he's
known you from the days of Foster City going way back.
That's elementary school right there. And middle school.
Classmate.
And high school.
Okay.
And the reunion.
Yeah.
A couple months ago.
All right.
And
I wish you would have stayed on the line. I could have asked him some questions about you.
That's why. Why do you think I hung up?
Yeah. He knows where the bodies are buried.
Ran into him at the airport on our way to Soldier Field in Chicago for Giants 49ers weekend last year.
Yeah.
We were on the same plane. The one that Bonte was on. Yeah. Good to hear from him. Bill's a good dude. See, that's how we raise him in Foster City. Smart.
Long-winded and dull? I mean, too soon?
Call back, Bill. Did you hear what Dibs just said about you?
About both of you.
Wow.
I mean, I'm keeping it real up in here.
Must be Friday.
Bow, 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 bow.
There's always a different Dibs when we know we're going to be apart for 2 days.
Yeah.
It's like I can get away with some stuff
Couple
today.
cheap shots on a Friday.
Yeah.
No, he was great.
He makes a really interesting point, and I'll say this about the Giants, and this was prior to this even being a huge issue, like before the Aaron Judge pursuit. We probably all know people who work for the Giants, right?
Yep.
And I mean this like in all the different departments.
Right.
Morale's been bad.
Yeah.
Morale's been bad. Like almost from the second they got back from the 107-win season, and never forget the 107-win season. Like it was halfway through the year before we could even all go to the ball game in a normal sort of way.
Good point, yeah.
So
I went to a game halfway through, and it was 8,000 people there.
Dude, I'll never
by
forget.
Design.
I'll never forget the first night they were like, okay, like release the hounds. All seats open. The A's were in town. The A's are always in town. You know what I mean?
Right.
The A's were across the bridge, and place was packed, but it was weird. It was weird being elbow to elbow with people
again, yeah.
Really weird. And so that was that season. So we only experienced that in some sort of disconnected way at times.
Totally, yeah.
And then we came back, and it was like, all right, We won 107 games last year, and all tickets are available. And from that moment on, they've been a yawn, they've been ineffective, and morale has stunk. Morale, that's a big word.
Across the board, too. I think you're right in terms of like executives and PR and all the people we talk to and the people that we know in the organization. It hasn't just been among the fan base. It's permeated the whole organization.
It has. And that's the kind of thing I think you can feel when you are a prospective free agent. I mean, think about it. If you were going to go take a new job, if you were going to move to a new house, like, you're not just going to listen to the real estate agent, right? You might want to go knock on the neighbor's door.
Exactly.
What's it like living here? Talk to me. Somebody who really is going to be honest with me has got no skin in the game. I don't want a sales job. And so if you're talking to the other people, the players, blah, 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 I know the players on the team have said, good clubhouse, good clubhouse.
Right.
Although we know a thing or two. I don't think all the players were big fans of Gabe Kapler.
Yeah.
I know this, in fact.
Well, we talked to a few of them, and they were, they were not blatant in their dislike of how things were going, but you could read between the lines and, players not really knowing what their role was going to be and not being thrilled with what their role was. Yeah, for sure.